Hello and welcome. I am Jordana, your favorite Pittsburgh realtor, and we are in another session of Real Estate Unfiltered. And the reason we decided to do this is because so many of my friends and family asked me so many questions, and I didn't realize the level of knowledge after 22 years that I need to impart on people more. So today we're going to talk about mortgages. And it can seem really scary because mortgage, you're buying a $300,000 house, let's just say, and that's $300,000 loan. And if you haven't bought a house before, that's probably the biggest loan you ever took out, unless you went to medical school, etc. But it is pretty big. So it can feel intimidating. And one thing that I found is that sometimes people are nervous about getting the pre-approval. And what I say, there's nothing to be nervous about. Okay. You're not committed to a bank. You're not committed to getting the mortgage. All it is a very simple form to fill out. Sometimes online. If you have a specific bank you go to, you can go that way. I have lenders who are very easy to work with and very good and responsible and helpful. So I can always get you in touch with them. So if you need it, don't be scared. Don't be worried. Don't think ahead of time. I hear sometimes, oh, my credit. You don't know. You don't know. And even if your credit isn't good enough, it can be fixed. Everything can be fixed. And dealing with the right lender, they can help you fix it. So, you have to start with that. Unless you have cash, and some people do buy houses in cash, unless you have cash, you have to get a mortgage. Now, what is a mortgage? A mortgage, and I like to remind people that let's just say you put 5% down for the house, okay? And it's 300,000. So you do the math, $15,000, which is a lot of money. But keep in mind that the bank is holding 95%. So that 95%, you buy the house, but they have 90%, 95% at stake, okay? So you have 15,000 and they have 275 in this house. So you better believe once you get into the process, they are going to have a lot of questions for you. But just to do the pre-approval is very simple. And usually, once you get pre-approved, you're pretty good. You have to give them some information later, but I always tell people, especially if you're self-employed, that let's just say you make $30,000 a year and you only claim 20,000 on your taxes. Well, guess what? You only made $20,000 tax, $20,000 as far as the bank is concerned. So you can't have your cake and eat it too, as they say. So it's one or the other. Um, Whatever you're paying taxes on is how much money you're making. Now, when it comes to pre-approval, they do the numbers based on their data. And typically, they say, okay, you can afford 30% of your income before taxes. So let's just say you make 100,000 a year before taxes. In theory, they might tell you that you can afford $3,000 a month between your mortgage, taxes, and insurance. So with mortgage, you also have to pay property taxes in Pennsylvania and insurance. Not every state's the same, not everywhere you have to pay insurance, but taxes are different everywhere. But in Western Pennsylvania, we have property taxes everyone has to pay. And so they might say, well, you can afford $3,000 a month. And I always tell people, I don't decide what people's budgets are. You decide. If you like to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for every meal, not travel and spend the most amount of money you can on the house, that's your prerogative. That is not my choice. That is your choice. If you like to travel all the time and you like a fancy car and you want to live a certain lifestyle, eat out all the time, maybe $3,000 a month after you make, if you're making 100,000, and I'm just making up a number after taxes, you might make 6,000. Well, that's half of your money. Do you have enough money to live the lifestyle you want to live? So they will give you the maximum amount. They will tell you, here's what we'll give you. And you're going, oh, I'm rich. Look, I can now go and get a $500,000 house, even though I've been paying rent for $1,600 a month and I'm comfortable with that. They're willing to give me 500,000, which could be a $3,500 a month payment. And you're going, that's great. The bank says I can do it. And the bank says you can do it, and you can, but you are not going to be able to live the same lifestyle that you're living right now. Because if you're paying 1,600 now and you're paying 3,500 later, regardless of what the bank gives you, you have to determine your lifestyle. And keep in mind, you are now also responsible to maintain the home. And of course, someone might say, oh, I don't want to spend extra money. I'll just stay renting. I don't want to maintain it. I want the landlord to maintain it. Keep in mind, as a landlord for an investor for over 20 years, my tenants do pay for all the repairs. Now, I pay for it out of my pocket, but they pay for it over time, right? So either way, you're paying for it. I'm not saying sometimes, obviously, I have bigger repairs, but over time, an investor owns property so that they can make money, not so that they can pay for your repairs. So you want to factor some things in. You want to factor some things in. So if you're comfortable spending $1,600 a month now, make sure when you get pre-approved to let the lender know that that's the comfortable amount. So they might say you're pre-approved for 500,000. You tell them I want to spend 1,600 a month with taxes and insurance. They say you can afford 200,000. So now, when you ask me to show you a house, I'm not showing you a $500,000 house. I'm showing you a $200,000 house, okay? If that's where you're at. And again, that's up to you. But I'm just being upfront because once you get through the process and you get that mortgage, you got to start paying it. So you better be prepared for that budget, okay? And so there's no point in looking at a house for 500 if you only want to spend per month what is equivalent of 200,000. So you really that pre-approval is really important. Again, I want to go back to don't be afraid though. Don't be afraid to get pre-approved. It's not a big deal. You owe nobody nothing. If they deny you, it's okay. Everything can be fixed. And but at least then you know where you stand and your purchase power. And that is very important. Um, now, well, do we have any questions so far, Mia, in the chat?
As of just now, we don't have questions yet.
Okay, great. Um, so yes, I think just going back to the pre-approval, please, please, if you've already gone to the bank and you have the pre-approval, by all means, bring it to me and we'll start from there. Most time people come to me first. I recommend the lender. You're not committed to using that lender. You can shop around, although I would wait to shop around until you find the home. I also want to talk about two things, somewhat as it pertains to the mortgage. Again, I want to talk about part of that 1,600 a month. They might tell you the mortgage, or you're going to a mortgage calculator, and it says that this house for this mortgage, the bank mortgage, is 1,200 a month. And it is. But with taxes and insurance, it could be 1,600 a month. So you have to take that into account. And you also have to take into account the house could be reassessed for tax purposes. And these are all things, again, just like the other two calls I said, this is why you need a trusted advisor and an expert. And this is what I am here for. So I just want to share all this because I find sometimes people are going online first, and that's fine. But I want to make sure all my friends and family are educated and protected. So I am sharing this information, but I am always here. My phone number is 412-657-3555. And if I went too fast or too slow, it doesn't matter. I will sit down with you and we will go through all of this again. There's nothing to memorize. And as I always tell people, sometimes when I get these, you know, starry eyes or whatever you want to call it, me, like a glaring eyes when people are overwhelmed, and I say, don't worry, I'm here every step of the way. So everything I said, because sometimes people, oh, let me write all these notes. It's okay. You don't have to. I think what I want to leave you guys with is that do not be afraid to get a pre-approval. It is nothing to be worried about. The pre-approval is just the first step. That is the most important step because you have to know, unless you have $200,000 house cash, whatever that number is to buy the house, then you need that pre-approval. So there is no point in looking at houses until you have that. So if you don't have a bank, most people don't, or they don't know where to go, you contact me, your trusted advisor, and I will give you all the connections. And again, my name's Jordana, just in case you didn't know. And my phone number is 412-657-3555. I also want to share that I just came back from a conference, Keller Williams, which is the number one real estate company in the world as far as number of agents. 10,000 of my best friends, they call it family reunion. 10,000 of my family members throughout the world attended this conference. And the reason I'm bringing that up now is because even if you're not looking in Pittsburgh, or Western Pennsylvania. I have contacts all over the world. Even like I just met someone from Aruba, an agent, and these are top agents. These are people I can trust. So you don't want to just pick up the phone and call anyone. But even if you're not sure, once again, I don't know if I could afford a resort, not resort, whatever, condo, or maybe a resort, but maybe I want to buy a condo as an investment property in Aruba. I don't know. Is that a pipe dream? You won't know until you get the pre-approval and talk to the uh the the agent there and talk to me first and I'll connect you. So, you know what? Dreams don't just have to be dreams, okay, guys? Dreams can be reality, and that's up to you to make your dream a reality. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon.